Classification of living things. Classification. About 200 years ago, when increasing number of new species of living things were being discovered, a biologist, Carolus Linnaeus, thought of arranging all of them in such a way that living organisms with similar features and characteristics come under the same group. This was called taxonomy, a classification system. In the beginning, biologists used to classify or group the organisms just by studying their morphology, such as shapes of their bodies or whether they have legs or not, and their anatomy by dissecting their bodies. Now, with the use of electron microscopes and advanced technologies, scientists can know more details about the organisms even at the level of DNA. DNA is the genetic material passed on from one generation to the next. Each DNA molecule is made up of strings of smaller molecules containing 4 different bases. These bases can be arranged in any order. Biologists can compare the sequence of these bases in the DNA of organisms from different species. The more similar the base sequences, the more closely related the species are to one another. What is classification? A formal definition is: classification refers to the process of grouping and categorizing organisms based on their shared characteristics. It involves grouping organisms into hierarchical categories by narrowing down choices for different categories. Different categories in classification are kingdoms, phyla, classes, orders, families, genus, and species. We know that classification is categorizing organisms on the basis of their shared characters. Classification itself is a 3-step process. First is observation, where all the information about the features of the organisms is collected. Second is comparison, where the information is analyzed and compared to the other organisms. Then the third step is placement, where we try to find out the most fitting group to which we can assign that organism. If we look at these organisms, we can use the 3 steps of classification. First, observe their special features, then compare their features to each other, and then assign them a particular group. So we can segregate them first into 2 major kingdoms, animals or plants, depending on whether they can move on their own or not, whether they can make their own food or not. So if we take these criteria, then all the animals will be assigned to the animal kingdom. We see that animals also differ from each other. So we can choose one criteria. For example, presence or absence of the backbone. Therefore, all the animals with the backbone will be grouped under vertebrates. Among the vertebrates too, there are differences. The most common features can be presence or absence of hair, whether they can reproduce by giving birth to babies or by laying eggs. These characters make lion, tiger, and cat to be grouped under the class mammals. As we continue to narrow down on the features, we find that cat, tiger, and lion, they have some common features and make them group together in the same order, Carnivora, and the same family, Felidae. When we make more close observations, then we can find some distinct features even among them. For example, lion and tiger with their large sizes and roaring skills belong to the genus Panthera. And the cat will be assigned to Felis as they are smaller in size and cannot roar. When it comes to the level of species, then lion being the largest and with a distinctive mane around the neck in males will be assigned to the species Leo, and the scientific name of the lion will be Panthera leo. Tigers with a distinctive black stripes and a white underbelly will be assigned to tigris species, and the scientific name of the tiger will be Panthera tigris. The cat with smaller sizes and exhibiting adaptation to human companionship are assigned to Catus species, and the scientific name of the cat will be Felis catus. So, if we can call a tiger and a cat, then why do we need their scientific names? Our next question is why the scientific names are important. So let's play a game. I'll give you a clue and you guess which animal I'm talking about. This animal in Chinese is called shitzi. In Turkish, it is called aslan. The Arabic name of this animal is asad. And the last clue, in English, we call it a lion. And I think at this point, many of you can easily guess which animal I am talking about. You know why? Because you all know and understand English. Just like this situation, scientists might also have faced the same problem while talking about living organisms, right? So to avoid such confusion in science and research, they came up with an idea of giving a specific name to the organisms, which everybody will use. For example, the scientific name of a lion is Panthera leo. And all over the world, this name is used especially in research and higher studies. Therefore, the scientific names helped scientists from different regions of the world to communicate clearly without any confusion. And not only this, these scientific names also tell us a lot about the evolutionary journey of that animal or plant. So here we are talking about the scientific names of organisms. And we cannot forget Carolus Linnaeus, the genius. He not only gave us a system of classification but also a unique system of naming organisms. Linnaeus introduced the now universal system of binomial nomenclature. For his such significant contributions, he earned himself the title of father of taxonomy. So the question is, what is binomial system of naming organisms? In this system, each species is given a unique 2 words name. First word is the name of the genus, while the second word is the species. The names are written in Latin, printed in italics. When you write a Latin name, you cannot write in italics, so you should underline it instead. For example, Panthera leo. You underline Panthera separately and Leo separately. The genus always starts with a capital letter and species always with a small letter. Sometimes, to save time, the generic name is shortened to the first letter followed by a full stop, and both the genus and the species are underlined. Now here are examples of some common names and scientific names of some organisms. Let's talk about species. Some important points to note here about the species are that they are similar but not identical. Let's take the case of dogs. All of them belong to the same species and have same general appearance. Why? Because they share a significant portion of their DNA. But as we see, different dogs vary in their sizes, color, and patterns on their bodies. This is because of the variations or mutations in certain specific genes. These variations are important for adaptation, evolution, and resilience of species in a changing environment. Another important point is interbreeding. That means all the organisms of the same species can reproduce and produce fertile offsprings. Question arises, can the animals from same genus but different species interbreed? Answer is yes, but they do not produce fertile offsprings. For example, a horse and a donkey can interbreed to give birth to a mule, but mule is not fertile. So the formal definition of species is a group of organisms that can reproduce and produce fertile offsprings. So why it is important to classify the organisms? Number 1, organization and understanding. Classification provides us a systematic way to organize and understand the immense diversity of living organisms on Earth. By grouping organisms based on their shared characteristics, scientists can study and compare different species more effectively. Number 2, communication. A standardized classification system, that means the system that is same all over the world, provides a common language for discussing and sharing information about living things, meaning there is less confusion while talking about a particular organism. Number 3, predictive power. Understanding the relationship between different organisms through classification allows scientists to make predictions about the characteristics, behaviors, and evolutionary history of species. Number 4, identification and naming. Classifying organisms provides a basis for identifying and naming new species. It also helps to assign each organism a unique scientific name, avoiding confusion caused by common names that can vary from region to region. Number 5, evolutionary understanding. By examining similarities and differences between species, scientists can understand how different groups of organisms are related to each other. Number 6, conservation. Classifying organisms helps identify endangered species and prioritize conservation efforts. Now it's your time. Check your progress by answering some questions. The answers are given at the end of the video.